If you're struggling to keep engagement going in your community, you need to listen to this episode because I'm going to let you in on a little hidden secret in the human brain that you can unlock to create more engagement. All right, y'all. Sometimes I come to you on this show and my thoughts are all put together and I've got this really clear outline that I'm sharing with you. This is not one of those episodes. Just fair warning. So I just got done with a presenting for a platform, a community platform. They asked me to come and share with all of the community builders that are using their platform about how to create a thriving community. And there was something that came up in the midst of me sharing that just sparked something in me. And I was like, oh, yeah, I got to take some notes on this. And then immediately I was like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and record the podcast episode because I know that I'm going to want to share this with you all. So bear with me because I'm literally looking at these chicken scratch notes that I just wrote down. And then I had another meeting and now I'm coming back and I'm sharing with you the thing that is fresh on my brain right now. Now, hopefully my kids don't come in. I'm about done with my work day and they know it. So they're ready to bust through that door. But I'm right here with you right now because what I want to talk to you about is this idea about how to create more engagement in your community. People come to me all the time. They're like, how do I get more engagement? And oftentimes what they want to know is what is the post I need to do, or how many times a week should I be posting, or what time of the week or of the day should I be posting? What do I need to do to get more engagement? And here's the thing. When I start asking questions and I dig in with these community creators, what I often find is that in the beginning, there was a lot of engagement in the group, right? The group was popping. It was on fire. There's a lot of people interacting. And over time, that engagement has dwindled. Well, I'll just say that isn't unexpected because over time, people will lose interest in things if it's not compelling enough for them to continue to be fully engaged. But one of the things that I wrote down is that we need to remember that we are not competing just with other Facebook groups, if you will. You're not competing with just other memberships and courses. You are competing for the attention of your community members, period. You're competing for their attention over TikTok. You're competing for their attention over the Facebook thread, over their children, over the book that they want to read, over the random people watching that they're doing outside their office window right now. That's me. I'm always people watching outside my office window. You're competing for their attention over other tasks that they feel like are important that they need to accomplish. It's not a matter of how do I get them to engage in my group? It's how do I get their attention and give them a compelling reason to continue showing up inside of my community. We need to stop thinking that we're losing our community members to other memberships or other courses or other programs, because chances are you aren't. Chances are they aren't showing up in your community because they're too busy looking at Instagram Reels. That's why they're not showing up in your community, okay? Has a lot less to do with other communities and other programs than it has to do with just generally being able to get their attention. So what becomes important is giving them novel stimuli. Novel stimuli. It sounds so scientific. And what does it mean? Show them something new. Do something that creates some interest, that creates some intrigue. Because when we do that, it releases dopamine. Dopamine is like this really good feeling, right? Dopamine has an association with happiness. Why do you think Facebook and TikTok and Instagram and all of these platforms are always making changes and they're always like releasing new badges and getting new content in front of you? Because they know that new is a good feeling. Most of the time. Maybe not all the time, but most of the time, something new is a good feeling. And the other thing that's really interesting for us who have online programs where we're trying to teach somebody something and get them to implement something is that novel stimuli increases the plasticity of the brain. It increases the plasticity of the brain. Shana, what does that mean? Well, it allows the brain to make more connections. It allows the brain to make more connections, which means that it makes learning something new easier. Now, to get a little bit scientific, that is associated with the release of dopamine. So when we experience something new for the first time, our body releases dopamine, our brain's a little bit more neuroplastic, which means that it's making and firing more connections, which makes it easier to learn something new and implant that in our brain as a memory. So you're a lot more likely to remember the very first time that you did something than you are the 20th time that you did something. The same is true with our community members. So we actually can use this to our advantage. So if every time we do an implementation call or a Q&A call or an accountability call or whatever kind of live call you do inside of your community, if every time you do that, you do it the exact same way, you're missing out on this opportunity to take advantage of what happens in the human brain when they have a new or novel experience. You're missing that opportunity. But when we create a new experience, when we mix things up a little bit, they are more likely to retain the information that you are sharing, right? Their brain is making more connections. It is firing better. The other thing that novelty does is stimulates memory. I just talked about this, but I want you to think about high school, for example. There's this great book. Oh, I wish I could remember the name of this book right now. I can't remember it. I don't know. I'm sure I'll talk about it in another episode. But there's a great book that talks about, I think it's called The Power of Moments. I think that's what it's called. But it talks about how novelty is important, and it talks specifically about memories. And it kind of takes you back, I think, to high school, where it basically says like, hey, look, when you think about high school, do you remember the day in and day out of the routine of sitting in class, of opening up your locker, of getting your stuff out of your locker? Or do you remember prom? Do you remember graduation? Do you remember that one time that kid stuffed you in a locker? Or that one time you stuffed a kid in a locker? I don't know which side you were on, right? What do you remember about high school when you look back? There are very few things that we remember, but they were often new experiences. They were new and noteworthy experiences. And so in that moment, our brain fired a whole lot more connections and solidified that memory in our brain. But the day-to-day things that we did, the day-to-day things that we learned even in the day-to-day routine, those are the things that we don't remember today. Those are the things that did not stand out to our brain. So as a course creator, as a membership site owner, as somebody who's running a community, when I post the same post every Monday, Monday Motivation, and I post the same post every Wednesday, Wednesday Wins, or Friday Fun, or whatever it is, and then over time people stop engaging, do you understand why? It is no longer exciting. It is no longer new. It's not fun. New is fun. Okay? New is fun. And the work that we do inside of our communities, what they are doing inside of your course, inside of your program, inside of your membership, should be fun. People like to have fun. If we aren't creating new experiences for people, it is going to be challenging to keep their attention. So what's my takeaway for you? What's my takeaway for you and for me? Honestly, it's pretty simple. Stop being boring. Stop being too predictable. I am so guilty of this myself. I like structure. I like routine. And many of you are right there with me. Now, for those of you that throw structure and routine out the window and nobody knows what to expect, that's actually not good either, because people can't trust you. There's no clarity there because you're not following through on what you say you're going to do and people don't know what to expect. That's not what I'm telling you to do here. I'm telling you that we need a balance, a mix of the two. Your brain does crave routine. It does crave structure, but it also craves new and different and fun. So how do you create that blend of stability and spontaneity or novelty in your community and in your program? I don't know. I don't know the magic formula. I know so many of you You listen to this podcast, and oftentimes you're like, but Shana didn't tell me exactly what to do. You didn't give me the step-by-step framework. And this is one of those moments. I'm telling you, you need a balance of the two of them. You need both of them. You need stability and you need novelty. I don't know what that balance is for you, but here's what I do know, is that now that you have this information, you're armed with this knowledge about how the human brain works and what your community needs from you, then I want to encourage you to do one thing. I want you to try something new. I want you to have a little fun. Does it have to become a monthly deliverable? No. Don't be afraid to mix things up. Don't be afraid to say, hey, we're going to try something different this week. Hop on a call with me next week. We're going to discuss X, Y, and Z. We're going to try this breakout room feature. We're going to see what happens. Okay, your community will grow with you. They will test new things with you, and they can have fun in the process, right? So don't be afraid to mix things up. And I want to make it easy for you to do this. It's so funny because this, in the world of list builders, right? This is the first one I ever created. It's been around the longest, and still people love it. They want it so bad. And so if you don't have it already, chances are you do. But if you don't, connectionideas.com. Connectionideas.com. If you're like, I don't know how to spice things up, Shana, 77. More than 77 now because I keep adding to it whenever I get a fun new idea. There are over 77 ways that you can create connection with and among your community members. And so I want you to get that guide at connectionideas.com. I want you to go through it and just highlight the ones that are of interest to you and then pick one. Don't have to pick 10, just pick one. And you don't have to commit to do it more than once. Just do it once and try it and see what happens. But I want us to know and to remember that we need novelty. Our brains crave novelty. Your community is creating novelty. If you see engagement waning in your community, chances are you need to mix it up a little bit. So that's my call to action, if you will. That's my encouragement to you this week, is to get that guide, pick one, and try something new over the next couple weeks. And when you do, please, please, please send me a direct message on Instagram at Shana Speaks. I want to know which idea you tried and how it went. All right, friends, hope you have an amazing week.